Hello students, welcome to all of you Shiksha 360 CAP classes. Today basically we have to discuss the chapter number 32 part 1, that is fraud and vigilance in banks. Already I have shared 20 to 25 MCQs in the group, and after the session even I will share some more MCQs so that you can do practice. Clear? First of all, try to go through the slides and video session, and after that practice the MCQs. So now let's start our discussion. So first of all, what is the meaning of the fraud? Clear, you will get 3 to 4 questions just on the meaning that. So what is fraud? Basically, fraud is basically an intentional deception. Fraud basically what is? It is intentional. That is, person know that he is doing some wrong. So what is fraud? Basically, fraud is basically an intentional deception to secure unfair or unlawful gain for money, either directly or indirectly. Clear? That is basically they want to gain either directly or indirectly. Fraud is a very common term in the present day, highly monetized societies. It may take various forms. Clear? Basically, fraud may take various forms depending upon the context being referred to. It has been defined differently in various acts. Clear? Basically, fraud has been defined differently in various acts, through the gist remains the same. Accordingly, it may be civil wrongdoing or criminal offense, depending upon the context and severity. Clear? Accordingly, it may be civil wrongdoing or criminal offense, depending upon the context and severity. That is level of the fraud. Okay, now move to the next one. Further, basically, where fraud has been defined. So, fraud has been defined in section 17 of the Indian Contract Act 1881, whereby what is the meaning of the fraud? Clear? First of all, where it is defined in section 17 of the Indian Contract Act 1881, whereby fraud means and includes. Clear? Basically, whereby fraud means and includes any of the following acts committed by a party to contract or with his convenience or by his agent with intent. Clear? That is basically intention. Basically for what? To deceive. Deceive in simple language, we can say that in Hindi language, it is dhoka dena. By his agent with intent to deceive another person, there to or his agent, or to induce him to enter into the contract. All these things basically comes under the fraud. Further, that is, what are these things? The suggestion as a fact that which is not true by one who does not believe it's to be true. Second one, that is the active concealment of a fact by one having knowledge or belief of the fact, a promise made without any intention of performing it, any other act fitted to deceive. Or fifth one, that is any such act or omission as the lawful specially declares to be fraudulent. Clear? Any such act or the omission which is to be declared fraudulent basically by the law, all these things comes under that. Clear? All the 5 points basically comes under that. Explanation basically, mere silence as to facts likely to affect the willingness of a person to enter into a contract, it is not fraud unless the circumstances of the case are such that regard being had to them, it is the duty of the person keeping silence to speak, or unless his silence is in itself equivalent to speech. Okay, like sometimes basically, just I am taking the example, like we want to do some work basically from some other person. Clear? We know that there is some wrong in that also. Clear? But we are not revealing that thing, or basically we are not, we can say that like hiding. Clear? Just basically we are silent on that. Clear? We will show the things to that person, that is this work, it is basically we are have to done. Okay, that is same thing here. They are saying marriage silence as to facts likely to affect the willingness of a person to enter into a contract is not fraud unless the circumstances of the case are such that regard being had to them, it is the duty of the person keeping silence to speak, or unless his silence is itself equivalent to speech. Clear? Either they have to tell, or basically the other person basically who is going to do that work is able to understand that this person is silent, so there is some anything wrong here to be. Okay. Now move to the next point. Further, that is section 447 of the Companies Act 1872. Clear, section 447 of the Companies Act 1872, while prescribing punishment for frauds, appends explanatory note stating for the purposes of this section. Clear what they are trying to say, that is fraud in a relation to affairs of a company or anybody corporate includes any act, omission, concealment of any fact, or abuse of any position, that is misuse of any position committed by any person or any other person. Abuse of position committed by any person or any other person with the conveyance in any manner with intent to deceive. With intent to deceive, that is their intention to gain undue advantage. That is basically why basically we will do fraud, basically to gain any advantage. Clear? To gain undue advantage basically from or to injure the interest of the company or its shareholders or its creditors or any other person, whether or not there is any wrongful gain or wrongful loss. Clear? Very, very important. What is the meaning of wrongful gain or what is the meaning of wrongful loss? Clear? Two questions I have put in the MCQ discussion regarding what is the meaning of wrongful gain and what is the meaning of wrongful loss. Clear? Okay. So with the interest of the company or its shareholders or its creditors or any other person, whether or not there is any wrongful gain or wrongful loss. Clear? So now let's try to understand what is the meaning of wrongful gain or wrongful loss. So wrongful gain basically means the gain by unlawful means. Clear? Wrongful gain basically means the gain by unlawful means of property to which the person gaining is not legally entitled. Okay. So wrongful gain basically here means the gain by unlawful means of property to which the person gaining is not legally entitled. Second one, what is the meaning of wrongful loss? Basically, wrongful loss basically means the loss by unlawful means of property to which the person losing is legally entitled. Clear? To which the person gaining it is not legally entitled. Wrongful gain, that is basically the gain by unlawful means. Clear? Not legitimate ways to which the person gaining it is not legally entitled. Wrongful loss basically means the loss by unlawful means of property to which the person losing is legally entitled. Clear? In the wrongful loss, basically the person is legally entitled, and in the wrongful gain, the person it is not legally entitled. Okay. So kindly remember the difference of both these terms here. Now we have to move to the next terminology. IPC, Indian Penal Code. What the law says that? IPC 1860. Clear? First point which you have to understand here, that is IPC basically of which year? Clear? Enacted in which year? That is 1860. So IPC 1860 defines fraud somewhat indirectly by defining the term fraudulently under section 25. What it say that basically a person is said to have done something fraudulently if he did it with the intent to fraud but not otherwise. Clear? Basically with the intent to fraud but not otherwise. With the intent to defraud. Clear? A person is said to have done something fraudulently if he did it with the intent to defraud but not otherwise. However or hence we can say that intent to defraud basically it is of paramount importance and it is a criminal offense. Defraud essentially means deceit and injury. Clear? That is basically we have to deceive someone. Clear? Deceit and injury. This is the meaning of defraud. Clear? Just you have to remember that. What is the intent to defraud? Basically, it is of paramount importance and it is a criminal offense. Clear? In examination, you will get directly. What is the meaning of defraud? Clear? Basically, defraud basically essentially means deceit and injury. Further, that is Reserve Bank of India has not defined the term fraud in its guidelines of frauds. RBI has, however, made classification of frauds basically based on the provisions of IPC 1860. Clear? As such, basically there is not any definition of the fraud, but how RB basically defined the fraud basically on the basis of the IPC Act. So as per RB, fraud encompasses all instances basically where banks have been put to loss. How they will get the loss? Basically through the first one, misappropriation and criminal breach of the trust. Fraudulent encashment basically through the forged instruments. Clear? Forged instruments like draft, check, and bill of exchange, unauthorized handling of securities that are charged to the banks, manipulation of books of account, or through fictitious accounts and conversion of property. Clear? Or through fictitious accounts and conversion of property. Clear? That is misappropriation and criminal breach of trust, fraudulent encashment through the forged instruments like check, drafts, and bill of exchange, unauthorized handling of the securities that are charged to the banks, manipulation of the books of account, or through fictitious accounts and conversion of property. Second one, unauthorized credit facilities extended for a reward or for illegal gratification. Clear? Unauthorized credit facilities that are basically extended for reward or for illegal gratification. Third one, negligence and cash shortages. Fourth one, that is cheating and forgery. Fifth one, that is irregularities in the foreign exchange transactions. Sixth one here, that is the any other type of fraud not coming under the specific heads as above. Clear? All these things basically comes under that. Clear? Basically fraud defined by the RBI as per the IPC Act 1860. Okay. So kindly remember all these things here. That is, they have how they have defined the fraud basically as per the Act 1860 and under which basically under section 25. Now we have to move to the next one. There are some another points regarding that which we have to understand here. Let's discuss. So note here what they are saying, that cases of negligence and cash shortages and irregularities in the foreign exchange transactions referred as above are to be reported as fraud. Clear? Basically, when they are to be reported as fraud, if the intention to cheat or defraud is a suspected or proved. However, the following case is basically where fraudulent intention it is not suspected or proved. Okay? However, the following case is basically where fraudulent intention is not suspected or proved at the time of detection will be treated as a report. Clear? That basically will be treated as fraud and reported accordingly. Clear? Basically and reported accordingly. Clear? So what their meaning here? Let's try to understand. That is basically cases of cash shortages. Clear? Basically, when they have to be report regarding that cases of cash shortages, basically when it is to be more than 10,000. Second one, cases of cash shortages of more than 5,000 if detected by management, auditor, inspecting officer. Clear? Generally, basically when they have to treat it as a fraud, basically like if there is a cash shortage of more than 10,000. And another case when the shortage it is to be detected by the either by the management or by the auditor, inspecting officer. Clear? That is basically when that is the case shortage basically it is more than 5,000 if detected by the management, auditor, inspecting officer and not reported on the day of occurrence by the person handling the cash. Clear? All these are to be treated as a fraud here. Very, very important. Clear? All these things are to be very, very important here. And I request to all of you kindly remember all these things. Now move to the next one. So definition of the forgery. Clear? So here one more word comes, that is forgery. Clear? So now let's try to understand what is the definition of the forgery. So if fraud basically may be committed, clear? Basically fraud may be committed through various innovative ways. One of the oldest ways, clear? Basically forgery basically it is one of the oldest way. Clear? One of the oldest way is through the forgery. Forgery basically generally means forging a document, that is basically we can say that a copying of the original document. Clear? Forgery basically generally means forging a document, that is creation of a false written document or alteration of a genuine document with the intention to defraud. Clear? So forgery basically generally means forging, basically creation of a false written document or alteration of a document, genuine document, basically with the intent to fraud. Clear? Basically where forgery it is mentioned under the IPC Act. So forgery has been defined under section 463. Clear? Where it is defined, basically forgery has been defined under section 463 of the IPC 1860. Whosoever makes any false document or false electronic record or part of a document with intent to cause damage or injury. Clear? Basically for what intent? Basically with the intent to cause damage or injury to the public or to any other person. Clear? Basically to cause damage or injury basically to the public or to any other person or to support any claim. Clear? Or to any other person or to support any claim or title or to cause any person to part with the property or to enter into any express. Clear? Or to enter into an express or implied contract or with the intent. Clear? Basically or with the intent to commit fraud, or that fraud basically may be committed. Clear? Or that fraud basically may be committed, commits a forgery. Further, making a false document. Clear? Further, that is making a false document has been defined under section 464. Clear? Making a false document. Clear? Forgery basically it is generally defined under section 463, and forged false document basically has been defined under section 464. So without going into the drudgery of further section of the IPC, basically forgery basically in general, how we can elaborate that is the offense of making a false document is complete as soon as the document is made with intent to commit a fraud. Second one, it is not necessary that the document should be made in the name of a really existing person. It can be made in the name of a fictitious person or in the name of a deceased person. Clear? So it is not necessary that the document basically should be made in the name of a really existing person. Clear? Either it may be in the name of the fictitious person or in the name of the deceased person. Third one, if several persons basically combine to forge an instrument. Clear? Basically if several persons basically combine to forge an instrument and each takes a distinctive part in it. Clear? And each takes a distinctive part in it, so they are nevertheless all guilty. Clear? So if several persons basically combine to forge an instrument and each takes a distinctive part in it. Clear? So they are nevertheless all guilty. Fourth one, that is the word forgery basically it is used in section 463 as a general term, and that section it is referred to in as a comprehensive section in section 165 of the Criminal Procedure Code, CRPC. Next one, counterfeiting, that is duplicate. Counterfeiting a document to support a legal claim. Clear? Counterfeiting a document, that is duplicate document, to support a legal claim will amount to forgery. Sixth one, antedating a document may become forgery. Clear? Basically antedating a document basically may become forgery if the date is a material part of the forgery. Clear? Basically antedating a document basically may become forgery if the date is a material part of the forgery. A document made to conceal a previous fraudulent or dishonest act amounts to forgery. But such falsification basically it is not forgery if it is only basically for the purpose of concealing of previous negligent act. Clear? Basically we can say that basically sometimes basically for hiding any previous act we are made a document. Clear? So that is the point here. A document made to conceal a previous fraudulent or dishonest act amounts to forgery, but such falsification it is not forgery if it is only basically for the purpose of concealing previous negligent act. A man's signatures of his own name may amount to forgery. Clear? Offense of forgery basically can be abated. So I request to all of you kindly please tell in the comment section what is the meaning of abated. Last one, that is the expression fixing electronic structure signature. Like we can say that at one place basically we are copying the sign and we are putting on the other. Clear? document. So the expression basically affixing electronic signature shall have the meaning assigned to it basically in clause D of subsection 1 of section 2 of Information Technology Act 2000. Clear? Basically of which act that is? Information Technology Act. Like basically we can say that copying the signature basically from the one document to the other. So forensic science basically further that is an important tool basically to deal with the scientist's silent evidence left behind in the forgery cases. Today, technical sleuths have come a long way basically from the magnifying glass examination, combining operations to the powerful scanning electron microscopes, which can magnify the tiniest object to 2 lakh times in pursuit of finding the truth. That is basically we can magnify small to small image basically to check that whether that thing it is to be genuine or not. Clear? All these things basically it is possible basically through the forensic science. Hope all of you are able to understand regarding all these terminologies. First of all, what is the meaning of the fraud, under which section, IPC, definition of the forgery. Now in the next session, clear, basically I will discuss all these things basically with you. I will explain some of the things here also. So areas basically in which frauds are committed in banks. Clear. Now we have to discuss basically where the frauds are to be committed in the banks here. First one, basically frauds can be categorized broadly on the basis of the committed by staff and outsiders. Clear. Frauds either to be committed by the staff or by the outsiders. So there is hardly any area of functional departments which has escaped from the frauds. So now let's discuss one by one. First one basically in the case of the deposits. Now where public basically will do fraud here. Fraudulent documentation. What is the meaning of that? Basically fraudulent documentation basically involves altering, changing or modifying the document. Clear? Fraudulent documentation basically involves altering, changing or modifying a document to deceive the another person. It can also involve approving incorrect information provided in the documents. Clear? So it can also involve approving incorrect information basically provided in the documents knowingly. Deposit accounts basically in the bank with the less KYC drills or operative accounts are vulnerable to basically fraudulent documentations. Clear? We can say that basically where no KYC, or we can say that inoperative or dormant accounts, clear, all these are vulnerable to the fraudulent documentations. Clear? That's why basically bank will say that basically when you are going to operate any dormant account, take the new basically take the ID proof again, that is Aadhaar card, PAN card, along with the photo, latest photograph, and all these are to be verified basically by the concerned officer of that department along with the branch head authorization. Next one, these are the frauds by the public. Second one, that is by the staff. So banks employees keep original fixed deposit receipts basically with themselves and hand over. Clear? Basically how the bank employee, that is original fixed deposits basically receipt with themselves and hand over the fake photocopies of FD receipts to the customers. Then they misuse the original FDs by forging signature basically for granting fictitious loans or transferring funds on or before maturity to the fraudulently opened accounts. Clear? Basically what they will do, basically they can take the loan on these fixed deposits. Okay. So then they misuse original fixed deposits by forging signature basically for granting fictitious loans or transferring funds on or before maturity basically to fraudulently opened accounts. Next one, that is in the case of the advances, that is in the case of the loans. So frauds committed by the unscrupulous borrowers. That is, it is observed that a large number of frauds are committed by the unscrupulous borrowers, including the companies, partnership firms, proprietary concerns, and or their directors or partners by various methods, including the following. First one, that is fraudulent discount of instrument. Clear? Basically fraudulent discount of instruments or kite flying. Clear? Basically fraudulent discount of instrument or kite flying basically in the clearing effects. Second one, fraudulent removal of the pledged stocks. Clear? That is again which basically we have sanctioned any amount Okay. So fraudulent removal of the pledged stocks, disposing of hypothecated stocks without the bank's knowledge, inflating the values of the stock, clear, inflating the values of the stock in the stock statements, clear. That is basically actual, basically we have not that much stock, but in the figure, basically we can say that basically we have, like we can say that we have this much stock, but actually basically we have not that much, clear. That is also let's the fraud. And drawing excess bank finance, clear, because on the basis of the stock statement, basically bank will renew the CC limit, clear, or device of as per the stock, clear. That is also comes under the fraudulent transaction, basically if we are inflating the value of the stocks. Third one, that is diversion of funds outside the borrowing units, transferring funds basically to the group companies, lack of interest or criminal neglect on the part of the borrowers, their partners, directors, etc. Clear, we can in simple language we can say that we are taking loan basically for any one purpose and we are utilizing that funds in the other. Okay. So, and also due to the managerial failure, leading to the unit becomes sick and due to laxity, ineffective supervision over the operations in borrow accounts on the part of the bank functionaries, rendering the advance difficult to recover. Clear. That is basically if we are also basically we have to continuously monitor, clear, whether they are utilizing the funds basically for that field, basically for which they have taken or not, clear. All these things basically we have to be regularly check up, continuously visiting also. That is so that we can save ourselves basically from the diversion of funds and we can get our amount recover properly. Next one, that is falsification of documents. Like we can say that wrong information basically to be provided. He or she basically provides false information about his or her financial status, such as salary and the other assets, and take a loan for an amount that exceeds his eligible limits. Clear? Like we can say that basically fake ITR. Very easily you can get fake ITRs. Clear? On the basis of that, basically you will get the loan. Clear? All this thing, that is falsification of documents. He or she basically provides false information about his or her financial status, such as salary and other assets, and takes a loan basically for an amount that exceeds his eligible limits. Clear? So in this session, we have to cover up to this much point. In the next session, we will cover the another points. Clear? Many more points basically will left. All these points basically we will cover in the next session, and I will provide you the slides also in the group so that you can go through that. And thanks to all of you for joining this discussion.